hours, setting a new record for the longest continuous speech in the House of Representatives. And snow shut down Paris, France today. Can you imagine that? A major metropolis brought down by a little bit of snow? Ridiculous. A predator is driving around a local high school trying to force teenage girls into his car. Now, we're told he's approached 4 girls since December. The latest one just yesterday morning who got in the car. Luckily, that girl was not hurt. But get this, he ended up dropping her off near her school. Christy Etheridge has been following this strange story all day. And Christy, police think this guy is really dangerous.
Just asking if these girls need a ride to school. Tips have been pouring in since the sketch of this guy came out this afternoon, but they still don't know who he is. Their biggest fear is that he's trying to build up some courage to do something worse. Barbara Harris is proud of her title as Grandma of the Neighborhood.
I just sit here. They just gave me that name.
But as she sits here on her porch each morning, she keeps a keen eye on the students walking to school.
I watch out for all the kids.
So when she found out a man matching this description tried to force a 14-year-old girl into his car, she was upset.
I feel horrible. I feel terrible for her because I know that's traumatizing. Because it could happen to one of my grands at a bus stop.
Police don't know his name, but they say they have a pretty good idea of what he wants to do, since he's approached 4 girls since December.
We are concerned about the fact that he may be trying to escalate his intentions with these young victims.
According to the girls' stories, this is his hunting ground, always within a 5 minutes drive from Miller Grove High School. So we mapped it out, and I drove his path myself. Okay, we've turned onto Hillendale Park Way. It's a short street, not even a quarter mile, and it's a dead end. It's actually a cul-de-sac. Police say this is where he propositioned the most recent girl who actually did get in the car with him. Raven Circle does exactly what you think it'd do. It runs a circle through this little neighborhood, but it's less than 2 minutes from the school. This is Hillvale Cove Way, another very short street on what seems like a very quiet suburban neighborhood. We're already at the end of the street, and from here, it only takes 4 minutes to get to the school. Police describe the car he drives as a light blue SUV with a license plate starting with RIH. Luckily, this last girl got out of that car unharmed.
Oh man, I am so happy on that part, but it's still gonna traumatize her because she's gonna be afraid. She's gonna still be afraid.
DeKalb PD says they have officers patrolling around the high school as kids are going to school and then again in the afternoon when they go home. They said they're working aggressively to get this guy off the streets.
All right, thanks, Christy. 800,000 meals, which were supposed to be part of a large delivery for hurricane victims in Puerto Rico, are sitting in a warehouse tonight instead of being on dinner tables. Why? Well, it all stems from an Atlanta woman and a botched FEMA contract worth $156 million of your tax dollars. Faith Abube has been on the story since the very beginning. Faith, you're back at this woman's place of business right now. What did you find out today?
Well, for the last 2 days, we've been trying to get in touch with Tiffany Brown, who is the owner of Tribute Contracting LLC, which is in one of these offices here in Midtown Atlanta. So far, she still hasn't called us back. But we do know FEMA awarded her a contract to deliver 30 million meals to hurricane victims. And she hired other subcontractors to fill some of those orders. One of them, Breedlove, tells us today that they have a warehouse full of food right now and no idea what to do with it. Stacked in these boxes are dehydrated food packets. Life-saving packages just like these were supposed to be shipped out of this Breedlove warehouse in Lubbock, Texas, to hurricane victims in Puerto Rico 4 months ago. Instead, all 800,000 are still here, thanks to a rift between this Atlanta woman and FEMA, the government agency that trusted her with $156 million of your tax money. The CEO of this humanitarian relief agency, Bill Miller, says Brown offered them a subcontract back in October. They agreed Breedlove would ship at least 26,000 dry vegetables and rice meals a day for 30 days as part of the $30 million Brown promised FEMA. Miller declined an on-camera interview but says Breedlove adjusted production schedules in order to make sure they could fill the order. But when the first shipment went out, FEMA rejected it. Why? Because FEMA says it terminated the original contract with Brown. because she wasn't up to the job and it needed to take, quote, necessary steps to ensure that survivors' needs are met and that the taxpayers' money is being spent appropriately. Meanwhile, Miller says he did exactly what was asked of him and now has issues with Brown's company. Until those issues are resolved, the 800,000 meals sit in this warehouse collecting dust. And Miller tells me that he's going to do everything he can to make sure that food doesn't go to waste. But right now, this could become a legal matter, so he's not able to touch that food just yet. But FEMA did tell us that no one lost food or none of the distribution of food in Puerto Rico was interrupted because of this canceled contract, Vinny.
All right, Faith, so Breedlove was supposed to make 800,000 of the 30 million meals. Who was supposed to make the rest of them?
And, you know, that's one of the questions that we've been trying to get Tiffany Brown to answer, which is why we've been trying to find her for the last 2 days. And still, she hasn't called us back. But we do know there was another subcontractor based out of here in Atlanta. We got in touch with her today. She says she's not ready to talk about this just yet. But just this evening, I was able to talk to Brown's publicist, and he tells me there are no two sides to the story. And he said, quote, the government simply effed up. Now, we do know FEMA did pay Brown for the 50,000 meals she was able to deliver, but it wasn't the entire $156 million the contract designated.
So how did Tiffany Brown get this huge contract to begin with? To find out, we brought in our 11 Alive investigator, Rebecca Lindstrom, who's been digging into this all day long. So there's the question. How did she get this huge contract?
Tiffany Brown has a really interesting resume. She has dabbled in everything from mattresses to meat. And I really spent the day on usaspending.gov. It's a website that tracks government contracts. And I learned she was no stranger to FEMA. In 2013, she was actually pre-approved by the organization to provide cleaning supplies and toiletries to emergency shelters. The thing is, her services were never actually needed. They didn't use her.
So, Rebecca, did she win any other contracts?
She did. In 2013, she won contracts with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. But within just 2 years, the records show that 4 of those contracts were canceled because she failed to deliver the items. She also won contracts with the Government Publishing Office. But right now, she's actually barred from winning any additional contracts until 2019 because, according to an Inspector General's report, she routinely delivered late, she had major financial difficulties, and the GPO says she failed to follow directions. Then there's the Department of Defense. She seems to have a pretty good track record with this agency. They don't say why, though. In 2017, a contract with the Navy was terminated less than a month after it was awarded.
So with all your research today, what was the largest contract that she actually delivered on, that she successfully completed, that you found?
The largest contract that I could find was for only $101,000, which really is what's behind a lot of the questions being asked right now. Yeah, she was vetted in 2013, but a lot can happen in 4 years. So what exactly did FEMA do to check out this company before they awarded her a contract worth $156 million? And that's, of course, the question we're going to have to stay on top of.
All right, I know you will. Thanks so much, Rebecca. Appreciate it. And we hear your outrage, folks, and we're going to keep pushing on this story, bringing you updates on our investigation as we hold the powerful accountable over this FEMA contract fail. All right, take a close look now at these surveillance photos. FBI agents tell us these men have robbed at least 10 businesses in all corners of the metro. Ryan Kruger goes to the latest place they hit, a Waffle House in Sandy Springs.
It was just before 10 last night when a man walked into this Waffle House on Northridge Road. He pulled out his pistol, pointed it at an employee, and made her give him all the cash in the register. He walked out. No one was hurt, thankfully. The FBI says these men have hurt people in the past. They've physically assaulted employees. They've stolen thousands of dollars. And tonight, the question is the FBI closer to making an arrest? 10 robberies in less than a month. These surveillance photos were taken from different Family Dollar locations that the FBI says the men robbed. And then take a look at this map of all of their victims. They've struck every corner of the metro. They started less than a month ago with a Family Dollar in Union City. They've robbed a few more Family Dollars since then, and then the crooks graduated to robbing Waffle Houses and pharmacies. The closest that anyone has gotten to catching them came over the weekend. Friday night, 2 of them walked into this Waffle House off Highway 92 in Ackworth. They pulled out their pistols, asked for the money, and then they hit the deck. That's when a security guard pulled out his gun and fired a round. The men escaped, and we know that they've robbed at least one more store. The good news for the FBI is that these men tend to wear similar clothing in all of their robberies, so that is a big clue to help them try to solve these cases tonight. But the bottom line, while these men are still on the streets, if you're a small business owner, you need to be aware.
All right, thanks, Ryder. Georgia-made movie already challenging the status quo.
It sounds like a good story and some time for some new heroes.
We take you to the Atlanta red carpet premiere of Black Panther. And Georgia Tech students targeted as soon as they step off campus. Now the school is teaming up with Atlanta police to cut down on those crimes.